What's going on? Happy Friday. Happy Friday. Happy Unrivaled Day, rather. Slow day in college basketball today, so I figured this is the perfect day to do a recap. Let's look back at some of these games for the week. We had some good ones. We had some not so good ones. This week wasn't quite like last week, in my opinion, but we still had some good games. Let's take it back to Monday, LSU versus Vanderbilt. This game was supposed to be a test for Vanderbilt. See how good they were or weren't. See if they were legit as an unranked team. Right there on the cusp of being in the top 25. It turned out to be a test for LSU as well. All too often this season, I won't lie to you, they've had some games against teams like Washington. Just way too close for my comfort for me to be confident in what they're doing. They're still 19-0. They're getting it done. A win is a win. But on their home court, unranked team, 6-point win, you'd like to see a little bit more. If this was a 3-on-3 tournament, I'd ride with LSU all the way. Michaela Williams, Floje, Anissa Morrow, hard to beat that three. Kaylin Gilbert wasn't so good in this game, but we know she's phenomenal, right? Coming off the bench, she can get to the rim at will. But I was really interested to see how Michaela Blakes would show up. It was a mixed bag for her. It wasn't her best game. Camille Pierre had 28 and 8. I really liked her performance in this game, but still not completely sold on LSU. They do get it done, though. I like that. They find a way to get it done no matter what. Doesn't have to be pretty. All right, Maryland, Minnesota. Now, Cheyenne Sellers. Let's start with her because after that game against USC, if you guys watch my recap, I talked about how, her 26 points in that game were impressive. It's not really what I'm used to seeing from her. I'm used to seeing her fill the stat sheet all the way across the board. She had no rebounds. She didn't have any threes in that game. It wasn't really, the Cheyenne Sellers experience as I'm used to. It was just points, really, for the most part. And some good foul baiting, get it to the rim. This game, we got to see the full deal right here. Let's go right to it. Kayleen Smichael, she balled out too. 19 points, still only 1 for 6 from 3. But this is about Cheyenne Sellers. 27 points, 9 rebounds, 7 assists. 3 for 3 from the 3-point line, 9 of 11 from the field. This game right here, it solidified her draft status. Well, I won't say solidified, it improved her draft status. If the USC one didn't already do so. Man, she's starting to look like a top 6 pick now. Unfortunately, because me, as an Indiana Fever fan, if you didn't know, I was big on Citron. I was big on Citron before she was even supposed to be a lottery pick. Now she's projected to be in the top 4. Sellers was my backup. She was projected to go around 11, 12. Now it's looking like she's rising in the ranks. They may not keep that draft pick anyway, but this isn't about the Fever. It's about college right now. Listen, Amaya Battle has been getting it in. 19 points in this one, 7 rebounds, 6 assists. I really like her and Tori McKinney from Minnesota. Haven't paid much attention to them prior to maybe the last 2 or 3 games, right? Obviously, they're ranked now at 24th, but I haven't watched but 4 games of theirs this season, which is low for the amount of games that I watch for pretty much everybody else in the top 40. I have to pay attention to them more so coming up because Amaya Battle and Tori McKinney, I really like their games. I really like what Minnesota does as a team. And, they're number 24 for a reason. Obviously, teams have been falling in and out of that top 25 once we get past 20. A lot of teams have been sliding in and out, but right now they're in the top 24, so we have to look at them as a legit team. Even without that top 24 ranking, there's so many teams in the Big Ten that have been in and out of the ranking. Nebraska, Illinois, etc. TCU versus UCF, nothing to see here. 7-9 UCF. I would have expected a bigger win from TCU, honestly, as a top 10 team, the way they've been playing. But Sedona Prince, she's been getting it in. She's been getting it in. And it's funny because I've been seeing her slide down draft boards. And ever since ESPN had her at number 9, and I said, no, I would take Ayoka Lee way before I take her. She's more consistent, has less baggage. I've seen Ayoka Lee shooting up draft boards. Baylor and Utah. Baylor is a good team that could be ranked. They're right there on the cusp. They were projected to be better than what they are right now in that Big 12. So for them to get the win over Utah, I'm not surprised. 70-61 in this one. Utah, they're also a good team. They got the win over Notre Dame. They've handled their business all season, but it's like I said, a lot of teams are falling in and out of that top 20. once we get after 20. Utah took the loss here. Oklahoma State, they took the loss to Houston, 76-69. This one was even worse because Baylor, like I said, they're a good team. But Houston, 5-12, even at home. Oklahoma State was never supposed to lose that game to them, but they did. Iowa State picks up the win, too. Let's not forget about them, 71-58. Audie Crooks balled out in that one. She had 28 and 9. Addie Brown, she had I think it was 21, 7 and 5 in that game. She was all over the place as far as the stat sheet goes. She filled it up. Now, okay, UCLA and Penn State. We have to talk about Lauren Betts in this one because 22, 12, and 7. She's starting to play a few more minutes than what we've seen all season as well. She's normally around 27, 28 minutes. I've seen her going over 30 a few times now in some recent games. 37 in that game against South Carolina. So we see when it gets real, she ups those minutes. Gotta love that. All right, UConn, St. John's. You guys already know how I feel about UConn and their Big East shenanigans. Nothing to see there. We did get to see Paige get back to the action. She had 12 points in this one. It was just a nice return. Good to see her back out there healthy, but 71-45. There was no need for her to do too much. Hasn't gone over 20 in the last 3 games. Obviously she missed the previous game, well, some portion of the previous game after that knee injury, but hasn't been too crazy of a season for Paige, in my opinion. Just really looking to see her get to the finish line healthy. West Virginia versus Colorado. This was the usual suspects. JJ Quinterly, she has 6 steals in this one. She does that. She does it very well. She already came into the season known as somebody who hawks the ball, and I think she's at a season high right now as far as steals are concerned. First time being over the 3 mark. Jordan Harrison, Sydney Shaw. It was the usual 3, like I said. I did watch this game. Well, I watched the first half of this game. It wasn't very exciting. I could tell Colorado didn't really have much for them in this one, which was surprising because the previous game that they played, it was only a 5-point game, 65-60 at Colorado. So this was a get-back game for West Virginia. They went out there and handled their business, not nearly as close as it was on Colorado's floor. Michigan State Rutgers. Yeah. Kiyomi McMiller. Now, she came back with a fantastic game. 33 points, had half the team scoring. She was 50% from the field. Followed that up with another stinker right here. This was not a good game from her. This is the 3rd time that she's had a game against a ranked Big Ten opponent and didn't show up. Ohio State, Maryland, now Michigan State. 5 for 17 in this one, 13 points, 7 turnovers. That was a big deal for me. 1 assist and 7 turnovers. Didn't really love it. Didn't really love that performance from her at all. That's going to be the next step for her, is actually showing up against some of the better teams. I know a lot was made about her missing that USC game, but from what I've seen against the 3 ranked opponents that she has played in the Big Ten, it was probably better that she didn't play in that USC game. They didn't have anything sweet waiting corner for her. All right, scroll over to Thursday. Didn't get to see USC Northwestern in action. I was a little bummed out about missing that game from USC, obviously, but can't really fault them. Now, Kansas State, Arizona. Let's talk about K-State really quickly here. Tamara Poindexter, one of my favorite transfers of the season. 4 for 8 from the 3-point line in this one. When we talk about a 4 like Tamia Gardner, who can get you volume 3s with high efficiency, that's Tamara Poindexter. But a better defender, though. Much better defender. A lot more switchable out on the perimeter. And gets you more blocks as well. Ayoka Lee, this was a 6.6 rebounds. This wasn't a great game for her, except for the 8 blocks. She's making it known. Serena Sundell, not too much on her. 16 and 8, not too much on her. We'll talk about her later. This is one of my favorite players in the country. She's leading the country in assists. Like I said earlier, Citron, Sellers, they've both been pushed up the mock draft boards. I'm really big on Serena Sundell as a sleeper in this draft. I think she's probably the most underrated player in this draft right now. 6'2", she looks 6'3". She's a very long 6'2". Passing IQ, on time, on target. Nothing too fancy though, but the passes are always on time and on target. There's a reason she leads the NCAA in assists right now. But yeah, the highest I'm seeing her right now is mid-second round. Criminal, in my opinion. Some of the players that are going before her, supposedly, yeah, she's a steal. She's a sleeper. Very lucky is a team. Very smart is a team that drafts Serena Sundell. Now, Notre Dame, Georgia Tech. They blew Georgia Tech out in this one. 15 points. I mean, that's not such a blowout, but you expect it to be a close game. Georgia Tech, they've been balling out. Didn't have Danny Carnegie in this one. Notre Dame didn't have Hannah Hidalgo, so that's pretty much a wash. Notre Dame's losing a little bit more there, but Georgia Tech relies on Carnegie a little bit more. What we saw in this one was Maddie Westbell get her first start, and she showed up. First 20-point game of the season. What did she have? Exactly 20 points, 5 rebounds. Citron, she was the leader of this game, 21 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists, 3 steals. Kassan Proper off the bench, though. 36 minutes, 15 and 9. This team is too deep. They're too deep. Last game, it was Leah King who led the team. Had a 20 and 10 double-double. They're just too deep. They won their last 2 without Hidalgo now. It's nothing you could really say. They're looking like one of those teams right there with South Carolina, right there with UCLA, that it's really hard to scout because they can beat you so many different ways with so many different players. And even more so than South Carolina, they have a lot of players that can hit you for 20 on that game. Like South Carolina, they get very evenly distributed contributions, right? A lot of players do a lot of things. But with Notre Dame, they have 3, 4, 5 players who can just take over the game. And I don't know if that's the same case for South Carolina, but we'll see. Texas and Auburn, nothing to see there. Madison Booker, she showed up, which she needed to, because, can't lose to Auburn. A lot of tough games in the SEC. You can't take that loss to Auburn. Oklahoma, they got the win against Mizzou. You really don't want to lose against them either. You want to try to save that for some of the tougher competition with the Tennessees, with the LSUs, and of course the South Carolinas. So good for them, Texas and Oklahoma, for taking care of business. That Tennessee versus Mississippi State game, I was expecting to see a much closer game in that one, and we did see a little bit of a battle. This one was the usual suspects as well. Whitehorn, Spencer, they did their thing. Cooper, let's see exactly what they did in this game. I mean, I watched it, but I don't remember the numbers by heart. 20 points by Ruby Whitehorn, Samara Spencer with 18. Select Cooper with the 16, 10, and 7. That's right. She was really close to a triple-double. This is one of my favorite games from her of the season. Like I said, I expect to see them be tested, but Tennessee right now, they're at that level where we know they're serious. We know they're a top 15, maybe even a top 12-ish type team. So I really like what I saw from them. Duke as well. I've been hard on Duke and the ACC as a whole, but they took care of business against Cal. This was kind of embarrassing for Cal. Lulu Twidell couldn't get it going. Reagan Richardson, she did have it going. She had the hair out. I knew it was going to be a long day when I didn't see the braids. She had the natural hair out there just flowing, and she was going. Toby Fournier. I always love when she does well because to me it just makes Duke a much better, more well-rounded team along with Reagan Richardson and Ashlyn Jackson. So whenever you see her go for 23 and 11, that's probably going to be a good day for them. But yeah, like I said, just nothing from Cal. This was an embarrassment for a team that just made it into the top 20. But when I did that AP top 25, review this past Monday, I said that I didn't feel like Cal should have moved up 5 spots. That was a little bit hasty. That was a little bit too much, in my opinion. I want to take a look at that Iowa game as well, because this was a heartbreaker. Iowa, Nebraska, they had a chance to win this one, obviously, and went to overtime. But the 3-point loss on their home floor by a fellow big team that has previously been ranked in the top 25, isn't currently. I mean, so these are two teams that are right there on the same level, but to lose it on your home floor for Iowa, it was disheartening. It really was. Really was disheartening. Let's just take a look at some of the contributions in this game, because what I did notice was that Hannah Stokey, she was at the 5 in this game. Correct me if I'm wrong, but she started at the 5. 16 and 16. I don't know. I like her better at the 5 than at the 4. I was looking forward to seeing her expand her game because she's going to be a 4 at the next level. But right now, for where they're at, it looks like they need her at the 5. She's producing, a much better game there, in my opinion. 6 for 8. 4 for 8 from the 3-point free throw line. You don't love that. Lucy Olsen, not coming up clutch. Going only 1 for 6 from the free throw line, including some ones they really needed at the end of the game. Hasn't been a great stretch from her. I expect to see a lot better of a season from her coming in as a leader for Iowa, but hasn't been that. Aaliyah Guyton, she started, now she's back on the bench. Comes off the bench and gives you 14 and 4. There's just no certainty in what's going on right now with their lineup, with who's going to do what on a daily basis. Nobody's really consistent. You don't know if McCabe's going to be the one. You don't know if Lucy's going to be the one. I guess Hannah, you kind of know what she brings on a day-to-day basis, but everyone else is kind of up in the air. You never really know what you're going to get when it comes to Iowa, and so it's been tough. It's been tough. Somebody who's been rooting for Iowa now for 4 years. I won't lie to you. Since Caitlin Clark's been there, I've been rooting for Iowa, and as a fellow Midwestern guy, it's just tough to see them go out this way, but they're going out pretty sadly. South Carolina, Alabama. This was just business as usual for South Carolina. Alabama at home, pretty good team. They're ranked top 19, even though they're missing one of their better players in Barker. But South Carolina was just too much for them. Just way too much. Mileage full Wiley. She's really starting to step up and become one of the leaders on this team. I can see it. It was good to see Maddie McDaniel be back. Definitely need that. You know, I'm not huge on Raven Johnson and some of her offensive performances, even though she does get it done on the defensive end. But this was another one. Let me just look at her numbers. I'm worried about how many minutes she's going to play against some of the better competition. 0 for 5 in this one along with Bree Hall. And they can get away with this against Alabama, you guys. But when they're playing some of these better teams like a UCLA that can go toe to toe with them, Notre Dame as well, I'm concerned that maybe some of these big minute games from Raven Johnson will be their undoing. And I'm hoping that Dawn goes to mileage of full while earlier and more often than what we've seen in some of these regular season games come tournament time. And we probably will. She was the SEC player of the tournament last season, so she definitely turned up come playoff time. But really concerned with Raven Johnson's offense and what it means for that team. They got it done, though. That's all that matters. Last game that I want to look at here, Ohio State. Jelani Cambridge, she really did her thing in the first half. I believe she had 19 by halftime, 27 in this game. A bunch of points late, kind of stalled at 19, honestly, and then scored 4 or 5 right there in the last minute or so. But Chance Gray is the one who took over in the second half. Jelani Gray got it kicked off. Chance with 5 from 9 from the three-point line, another very top elite transfer this season. Sarah Williams, I feel bad for her. 20 points, 17 rebounds, 6 assists. She'll never get the credit that she deserves right now playing in Wisconsin. And listen, I'm saying this as a guy with a Wisconsin shirt on, right? I'm from Wisconsin. You know I'm a USC fan. Can't make this up. Sarah Williams, it just makes me sad to know that what she's doing won't really be appreciated. When I'm seeing her on some of the mock draft boards for next year, to me, she's underrated and will continue to be so as long as Wisconsin's not a winning team, 1-5 in conference play this season. So, yeah, we'll talk about that later. But Sarah Williams, I wish the best for you.